Whoa, buddy. Put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Dukes Show.
The greed and the entitlement is astounding to me.
What more could you want from a low-budget radio program?
This is a dumpster fire.
That was just BS.
It is time to get a new perspective.
We know just what you need, and we've got just the cure. Open wide and prepare for a steaming hot cup of freedom.
I just don't fathom it.
The Michael Dukes Show, streaming live across the world.
Yep, live around the world on the internet at michaeldukeshow.com and live across the state of Alaska on this, your favorite radio station and or FM translator. Hello and good morning, my friends. Welcome to the program. It is the Michael Dukes Show, and we are kind of ready for the day. Oh man, I tell you what, not quite up to speed this morning. not feeling 100% today, and just trying to bring all my scattered thoughts together to have a conversation with you about all the stuff that's fit to print around the state of Alaska and what's going on out there, and everything else. Hello and good morning. Welcome to the 6 o'clock club. It's that unofficial club where we celebrate the fact that you guys got out of bed this morning before 7 o'clock to be part of the program, and we appreciate that. So coming up on today's program, we've got a lot of different headlines from around the state and a lot of different things to talk about. And I'm hoping that you'll want to participate on the program today with us, as I again am trying to pull it all together and get things ready for Monday. Okay. I guess we'll start just by giving you a brief synopsis of the headlines that we're going to be facing today. And we'll get ready to go. Yes, I know. Brian says it's bold to assume that we're actually out of bed. I know some of you may not be in bed already. You're just listening to me on that road. Are there still clock radios? I think I've asked this question before. But are there really still clock radios? Are people sitting there listening to the clock radio? Or is everybody doing it on their smartphone? I'm not quite sure how that works anymore, but regardless, we are ready to go, and we're going to dive into it with a variety of headlines and discussions. So some of the big things that caught my attention over the weekend and coming up for this morning's show is the headline that a Washington-based conservation group is planning to ask the federal government to list Alaska King Salmon under the Endangered Species Act, which would have devastating consequences for personal use and commercial and sport fishing here in the state of Alaska. We're going to talk a little bit about that and hopefully get your take on it as well. Now, I'm not much of a fisherman. I did a lifetime's worth of fishing in about 18 months when I was much younger. I worked down out of Kodiak, and I commercial fish there, and pretty much cured any interest that I had in fishing for the rest of my life. I mean, it was great, don't get me wrong, but once you've cleaned 50,000 pounds of halibut, you're pretty much done at that point. I appreciate it. So I would look to you as especially the sport fishers of halibut, or excuse me, of salmon down on the peninsula, to give us your hot take on what's going on there. Another story is why do we care what the Alaska GOP announces or does, or just let's just put it this way. The Alaska Republican Party met in Soldotna on Saturday, and they passed a resolution. And to which I ask the general question of, with all fairness and all, I'm having a hard time with my words this morning. I guess in all humility, with no spite, I'm asking, why should we care? Why should we care what they, just based on past actions, why should we care? So we'll talk about that as well. Also, last week we had a What If Wednesday, which we really haven't had one in quite a while, and I've only done a couple here in the last couple of years. But one of the what if scenarios that I threw out there is, what if the port of Seattle or Long Beach shut down? And lo and behold, that's something that looks like it might be coming to pass. So we'll hit on that as well. Anchorage is trying to deal with their homeless situation, and one of the solutions that they're looking at right now is creating small communities of these modular huts that they're calling pallet homes. They're not actually made out of pallets. That's a brand name. Pallet is a brand name. But it's one of the ways that they're looking at trying to help the homeless population in Anchorage, which has grown substantially and is costing a significant amount of money. I had no idea exactly how much. I mean, I knew that they had a lot of COVID money that they were throwing around, keeping the Sullivan Arena open and everything else, but they threw a number out there that just kind of boggles my mind. And we're going to talk about that as well. We might talk about the whole trans girls, banning trans girls from girls' high school sports teams, and the brown bear mauling. There was a brown bear. Was it grizzly? Brown bear? I think brown bear. Brown bear mauled a hunter on Saturday night. Excuse me, east of Sterling, injuring a man before he shot and killed the animal, according to troopers. Sterling resident Nicholas Abram was hunting for rabbits north of the Sterling Highway at mile 73.5, a little bit after 8 p.m. on Saturday, when he came across a brown bear with cubs, according to the troopers. He became aware of the sow when he was about 15 feet from her, the trooper spokesperson said, and she was on him immediately after he became aware of her. He shot her with a .44 Magnum and was able to drive himself to the hospital, where he was treated for minor injuries. They investigated the site of the bear mauling, and they did not see any cubs on the site. Again, just proof positive that Alaska will kill you if you're not careful. It's absolutely horrific how quickly the tables can turn on you, and boy, ooh, baby, it is a hot and good for him. Good for him. I mean, 15 feet of a brown bear, and she's on you from zero to just like that. That's a horrific picture. So good on him for actually being able to think about it, and again walked away with apparently minor non-life-threatening injuries. So good for him. but definitely pays to be prepared when you go out there into the wilderness and deal with that. No sign of the cubs, but I saw that there was an article that where is it? It's had such a nasty tone to it. Something about they were. I can't find the headlines of the articles. There's a caribou herd that they're trying to bring back from the brink, and in doing so, I can't find the dang thing. In doing so, the Fish and Game has killed over 100 bears in just, I guess, a month or something like that. But now I can't find the article, so I can't be semi-intelligent about it. Anyway, that's the balancing act when it comes to wildlife management. You know, there are huge swings and there are huge valleys and huge peaks in wildlife cycles, right? I mean, we used to talk about this a lot up in the interior when the show was up there only. That, you know, when you're looking at wildlife predator and prey populations, you know, whether it's the ungulates and the moose up in the interior or caribou or something like that, we've seen, you know, unchecked, the cycles swing wildly. You know, moose population will explode, and that causes the wolf population to explode. And then the wolf population eats all the moose. Well, almost all the moose. And the population drains down. And then the wolf population crashes because there's not enough moose to fill the growing mouths of all the wolves that have been born to the, you know, in this thing. And so then the wolves crash. And so then the moose recover over the period. And then it's just this ungodly kind of up and down peaks and valleys of highs and lows, of surpluses and crashes. And the idea behind how, as it was explained to me many years ago by Wayne Heiner and many other who are wildlife biologists that I've had on the program over the years, was that they want to smooth out the highs and the lows and make it kind of in the median, right? So this, where was this article? I swear it's killing me. Maybe it must have been on the ADN. Yeah, there you go. State workers trying to revive Southwest caribou herd killed almost 100 brown bears in less than a month. They're trying to bring back the Mulchatna caribou herd, and a total of 95 brown bears, 5 black bears, 5 wolves were killed in the program that began May 10th. That's more than 4 times the number that biologists would predicted to be taken. But it just reminds me that the way that the headline reads is like, it's almost, I mean, I guess it's criticism that how dare they would kill. But if you want the herd to recover and you want it to be able to even things out and narrow the playing field, sometimes you have to kill a certain number of predators to do it. But the wildlife rights people, I guess, the like the Alaska Wildlife Alliance, the Sierra Club, all these other ones, they would rather just, I think, have the highs and lows again. Go back to the big things where the population soars and then the predators come in and then they kill most of the population and then they crash. I think they would rather return to that in some ways. Anyway, it was a random thought I had this morning as I was watching all this stuff and watching how it all worked out. Okay. As you could tell, yeah, baby, we're 100% today. Let's open up the phone lines since we're coming up on the break here. We'll get things ready to rock and roll. If you'd like to call in, we'd love to hear from you at 907-433-3150. 907-433-3150. Any of these topics is fair game. If you would like to talk about any of the things that we've touched on already this morning, and I'd love to hear what you have to say. I want to say thank you to our friends at Satellite West. You could find them at satellitewest.com. They will provide you with coverage across the state of Alaska for any way to stay connected. Text messages, emails, phone calls, surfing the internet, no matter where you are in the state of Alaska, or for that matter, anywhere in the world. Satellite West has got you covered. So thank you to them for sponsoring the program today. All right. We're going to continue ahead. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio.
We're broadcasting live through a series of tubes.
Allowing all of these entities to provide streaming stuff going on the internet.
Well, it's kind of hard to explain. Sorry. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
OMG. My goodness. Good morning. How are you guys doing? Well, I mean, I had a great weekend. I mean, it was good. It was productive. I got a bunch of stuff done that I've been working on. But damn, I don't know what happened between last night and this morning, but it was all I could do. Excuse me. It was all I could do to drag myself out of bed this morning. But I can't call in sick, right? Can't call in sick. Man. OMG. You guys got got chatty this morning. Okay. Today, actually yesterday was my dad's birthday. Damn it. I knew I forgot something. Balls. Happy birthday, Dad. Sorry about that. I was in the middle of a project and I was like all day. Anyway, happy birthday. There are still clock radios. Yes, I have a clock radio. Well, there you go. Let's see. Good morning. Jeannie says King Salmon should be placed on a 5-year moratorium with a bump in their hatchery program. It will significantly boost the numbers. Then you need to figure out the bycatch problem. Yep. I would not disagree with, part of that. Again, I have so little interest these days in fishing other than as an interesting discussion point for state stuff. And because it's one of our biggest industries, both in the commercial and in the sport fishing. Anchorage, send your homeless to Seattle for the winter. It would be cheaper in the long run if they did that. Here's a round trip ticket. See you back in May. It would be cheaper in the long run. Oh, man. Let's see. I'm going through here. I was always told you don't eat rabbits or hares in the months that have R in the month. Maybe he wasn't hunting them to eat. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he was going for the skins. I don't know. Yeah, tularemia is a real deal. And I haven't hunted rabbits since I was much younger, usually because I was too concerned about tularemia with that kind of stuff. Michael says, sorry, I apologize. Mikhail says that they will never be able to manage wildlife better than nature. I mean, I don't know if I agree with that. I don't know. I mean, maybe looking at it on a 500-year cycle, you might be right, but I don't know if I agree with that, Mikhail. I don't know. Hawk asks what they did with the meat and the hides from the bears. Maybe they could send a community response counselor and negotiate with the bears and the wolves. And Harold doesn't believe that Fish and Game does anything good. All right. I'm going. Anchorage internet is offline. Oh, that cracks me up. All right, folks, we got to go. Oof, man. The brain fog is real. Here we go. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Okay. How you guys doing? Apparently they're having... Boy, GCI is really not loving life right now. Apparently internet is off across a big chunk of Anchorage. And that's just the thing. Lots of comments in the chat room about the management of Fish and Game. And I guess there should be a snort in there somewhere. Management, Fish and Game. A lot of people are like, they shouldn't involve themselves. Mother Nature does a much better job, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't know if... I mean, I think on the longer cycles, that might be... Maybe. I mean, I guess I really haven't given it as much thought. I mean, I had these discussions for years with biologists, Fish and Game biologists and things like that on the program as we've talked about various things, mostly up in the interior again, is what I was talking about before. But Jeannie brought up a point. She said they tried this. Let me read this. I think the reality is that waxes and wanes are normal. Washington and Idaho tried the same thing. The unintended consequence was a decimation of the Roosevelt elk. Don't mess with Mother Nature, please. She says, and I'm not a greenie. She had to make that clear. She's not a greenie. I think if you're a conservationist, that you want to do what's best for the ecosystem, for the wildlife and everything. See, that's the thing, the difference between conservationist and preservationist. And we've got a lot of people around this country that seem to be mislabeled as some of them are labeling themselves as conservationists, and really what they are is they want it to remain untouched and unspoiled, and they want to preserve it instead of conserve it. Conservationists want it to be available for the use of all multiple generations from now. And so I know conservationists are doing their best to continue to, grow the species and keep it at a stable level, a uniform, stable level. But it's a challenge. I mean, you're right in some ways. If you look at it, Mikhail, who said earlier that he didn't believe that we would ever be able to manage wildlife better than nature. I mean, in the long run, if you look at it on a 1, 2, 300-year cycle, you're probably right. And I think that, but in the short term, we've got to live in the short term, right? So we got to figure out a way how to balance it and still be able to use the resource without absolutely decimating it ourselves. Obviously, there's obviously we're still working on it. We're obviously still working, on getting that down pat because we're having problems. The the Wildlife Fish Conservancy, whose actions have already caused the closure of an iconic Southeast Alaska fishery. This is in regards to the orcas. A federal judge issued an order back in May voiding an environmental review that helped authorize a small-scale fishery, which is about a $30 million industry that employs hundreds of people in Southeast Alaska. The whole lawsuit filed by the Washington-based Wild Fish Conservancy seeks to protect endangered orcas off the coast of the lower 48 in British Columbia, whales that feed on some of the same salmon harvested by Southeast Alaska troll fishermen. And as they go through, they basically put this in there, and it closed a fishery down in Southeast because they're saying that the troll fishermen, not trawler, but troll fishermen, trollers, are damaging the orcas' habitat and everything else. Anyway, this group basically has now sent Alaska a notification. It formally notified the state of its plans to file an Endangered Species Act petition for multiple populations of king salmon, known as Chinook, obviously, in Southeast Alaska, Southwest Alaska, and the Cook Inlet, just outside of Anchorage. According to the Alaska Beacon, Nat Hers, if successful, experts said that the proposal would have dramatic impacts like the closure of commercial harvests of kings, new limits on other fisheries that accidentally catch them, and restrictions on development. Now, there have been crashing king stocks across the state that have already prompted closures and limits on commercial and subsistence harvests. Populations, though, are not facing a risk of extinction, according to Doug Vincent Lang, Alaska Fish and Game Commissioner, in an interview with Nat Hers last Wednesday. He said, "We think that none of these stocks are threatened with extinction today or threatened with extinction in the foreseeable future. So we're going to work to oppose this. This has a real impact coming our way if it's granted." That's like the duh. That's like the biggest duh in the world. The Conservancy has not yet filed its petition. It sent a letter to Vincent Lang in May saying it would file one within 30 days. It's not legally required, but they did say that they were submitting it as a courtesy, as it is our intent to maintain open communications with the state through this petition process about our concerns over the health of the Alaska Chinook populations, wrote Emma Halverson, the Conservancy's executive director. Asked about the letter, Halverson said by email that she would share a copy of the petition when it's filed, but she did not respond to an interview request with Nat Hers. This has been a problem going on for a while, and we've talked about this in passing. Again, this is not my forte, and I have, personally have. I'm all fished out, is what I'm saying. When I spent some time in the Bering Sea and around the Gulf of Alaska doing commercial fishing when I was younger, and that pretty much just all fished me all out. But this does have a huge impact on many areas and populations across the state. There's no doubt about that. On the Yukon River, which of course starts in Canada and cuts all the way across the interior, king counts have been falling for more than a decade. Last year, they reached lows that deeply unsettled Alaska natives and Canadians who depend on their harvest for cash income and to feed their families. Managers initially predicted that between 41,000 and 62,000 Yukon Kings would return to Canada last year, but the actual run size was 13,000. I mean, that's less than 10% of the return that happened 2 decades ago. Just 20 short years ago, they had 130,000 Kings return, and this year it was 13,000. There's something wrong there. I mean, I'm not a scientist, nor do I play one on TV, but even I could say, whoa. Commercial and rec fishing in Cook Inlet and Southeast have faced stricter limits in recent years in response to the king salmon declines, and the salmon populations in California and the Pacific Northwest are struggling too. This is a big deal. The Conservancy filing its petition would kick off a pretty lengthy process. There'd be a 90-day review period where the federal government will determine whether the petition I'm sorry, I'm trying to use my words this morning, and my brain will not keep up with my mouth. Will determine whether the petition presents substantial information that listing kings may be warranted. If so, that determination would launch a year-long review process of the best science available that would lead to either rejection of the petition or a proposed listing as endangered or threatened. I mean, the best science available. We haven't decided if these kings are male or female or something else, but the best science is... While the petition doesn't pose a short-term risk of closing king salmon fisheries, Alaskans ought to take the threat seriously, according to Peter Van Toon, an environmental lawyer with the Endangered Species Act experience, because we should be ought to take a threat seriously in the medium term because of what happened with the Southeast Chinook. He's talking about the original lawsuit with the orcas down there in the thing. Anyway, this is a big deal. This is a real big deal, and we probably should be paying a little bit closer attention to it. And I apologize for not catching some of this earlier back in May when that Chinook fishery closed down. It's partially because, again, when I see fish, my eyes immediately glaze over when I see the word fish about something about fishing, because it's not something that's usually on my radar. But this is a big deal. This is the real deal, folks. It's important that we pay attention to this. Maybe we'll see if we can get Doug Vincent Lang on the program to talk about it, or somebody else, or you guys can call in and we could talk about that as well. All right, we got more. Excuse me. We got more coming up. We are ready to discuss some of this and more. Phone lines are open at 907-433-3150. 907-433-3150. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Back with more after this.
Listened to by more staffers in Juneau than any other show, because their bosses told them to. And after what they just heard, oh man, they're going to be pissed.
You're a bad, bad man.
The Michael Duke Show.
Oh, man. Okay. Feels like the middle of September this morning. Wayne. Good God Almighty. I think it's official. I'm going back to bed. as soon as this is over. Feels like the middle of September this morning. Wind, rain, gray, ugly, and cold. Brr. I never get sick. Like once a year I'll get, usually if I feel a little cruddy or something, I sleep a little more, a little emergency. But this morning, and I don't know, maybe it's a sleep problem. Maybe my sleep has been more disturbed than usual. I don't know, but it was hard getting up this morning. It was like one of those things. I've said that already, I know. I highly recommend The Biggest Little Farm. Amazing display of regenerative, sustainable agriculture that's a balance with nature and wildlife. Okay, there we go. $90 for Starlink, says Willie, and hardly any glitches. Well, I'm waiting for them to finish putting up the constellation of the rest of the satellites this summer. What a bunch of crap. Blah, 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 blah. Trawlers. Somebody said trawlers. Paid for by the Seattle Trawler Association. I never understood trawlers. Never understood draggers at all. If you see the damage that they do, I mean, I was 18 years old and I watched a trawler pull in its catch one day. And I just looked at that and said, who thought this was a good idea? Right? I mean, who thought this was a good idea? Just my brain, man. Michael says, well, when fishing game uses practices for 10 years and it steadily fails and they continue it and double down on it, resulting in the depletion of the resource. Yeah, they have failed and it should be fired. Yeah, I mean, when you're looking at a 10% of the return that you had 20 years ago, I would list that as probably ultimately failing. Maybe you should just, I mean, what do you do? Close it down and let it sit there for 20 years until it recovers? I don't know. The other day, according to Willie, who's out in Bethel out there by the mouth of the Yukon, the other day the sonar didn't count a single king entering the Yukon. That's really bad. Fukushima, says Robbie. Okay. The internet infrastructure has never been able to handle the load, yada, yada, yada. But I'm still wearing shorts to work, says Brian. Hey, you and me both. Garden on top circulates the thing. We're always trawlers. Trawlers, right? My family rule was you catch it, you eat it. Yeah, I mean, man, there's so much stuff. Those trawlers, the draggers, they're just, because, I mean, I don't even call them trawlers. I call them draggers because that's what they do. They drag across the bottom and they just scrape everything. I mean, there was bits of coral and broken stuff and all kinds of stuff in these nets when they were hauling this thing in. And I was just like, who thinks this is a good idea? I mean, I was 18 years old and I was like, that doesn't seem like that makes much sense at all. You're wrecking everything down there. Sure, you're getting everything in the net, but you're wrecking everything. And bycatch, by the way, I could tell you a little bit about bycatch. Now, this is from 30, almost 40 years ago. I could tell you about bycatch. Bycatch, that stuff don't survive, right? I mean, even release, it's not a good thing. Oh, man. That's just not a good thing. This just reminds me about why I hate fishing now. Because so much. I love eating halibut, but if I had to clean another halibut, my arm hurts just thinking about cleaning a halibut. I mean, when you've pulled your 400th set of gonads out of a halibut, you're like, my forearms hurt so bad. I still remember that night. Like, oh. Okay. Let's get rolling, shall we? The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Like and share, like and follow. Ring the bell, do the thing on YouTube, all that stuff. Let's get to it. Here we go.
The Michael Duke Show. Seriously humorous with a pinch of intellect. Sorry. That is humorous. Here's Michael Dukes.
All right. Yep. Welcome back to the program, The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. And good morning to you. Apologies in advance for for everything. I just want to apologize for my life to you. All right, let's continue on. We were just talking about the potential for Alaska king salmon to be put on the endangered species list. And while I don't agree with that, the response, the reality that after we got a 20-year decline going on, and after 20 years, the return on the Yukon is 10% of what it was 20 years ago. That's a problem. Willie is down on in Quinnahook, down near the mouth there, and he said the other day the sonar that counts the kings, the sonar didn't count a single king entering the Yukon River. That's bad. That's not good. Anyway, we can get your thoughts on this and more. We got a line on hold. The phone lines are open this morning. We got a bunch of other stuff to talk about, but whatever it is that you want to talk about, we'll start off over here. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, buenos dias, senor. I'm in California here. They're blocking all the salmon fishing too. They're not allowing nothing anymore. So, can you see?
I'm sorry, Brady. Go ahead. Yep.
You got all these people wondering why there ain't any fish around. Figure how many explosions happened underwater these last couple of years with all the war going on, all the depth charges and all the different stuff that our Navy's doing. They don't care about the environment. They don't care about the fisheries. I mean, where are all the environmentalists and the libertarians against war? I haven't heard nobody speak out in the last 3 years. They're all for the Ukraine.
Well, but Brady, I don't think that first of all, there's not a lot of depth charging going on between Russia and Ukraine. There's not a lot of depth charging in general. I think this has to do a lot with more the overfishing than anything to do with war. Again, there's not a Navy battle going on between the Ukraine and Russia. I don't think it has anything to do with that.
Well, one thing. Are you still there?
I'm still here.
What about the Nord Stream 2 pipeline that our country blew up and that they still deny it to this day? That was the biggest ecological disaster over in the Baltic Sea where that was. How come there wasn't one peep out of all the wackos that are the environmentalists and your libtards that always speak out against every little thing in this country that goes against the Green New Deal? What a bunch of jackasses.
All right, Brady. Well, I appreciate you sounding off this morning. Thanks for calling in and joining us. That's what you get when you open the line sometimes. I just don't see a whole lot of depth charging going on between, all this other stuff. Depth charges in the Ukraine. Killing Alaskans. Can you see the headlines now? Russian depth charges kill Alaskan salmon from the Ukraine. Oh, Lord. That was a stretch. That was a monumental stretch. The state, let's see, Vincent Lang, I've got two different stories up here. KTUU has it. Joe Kineen over at KTUU also writes about this. He said there's a difference between low productivity and a stock being threatened with extinction or being threatened with their very existence. Our management is to provide for sustained yield, and in many cases, maximum sustained yield. And we may close a fishery to get to that past level of yield, but that's a long way, a long stretch from not being able to provide for the continued existence of the species, which is what the ESA is centered around, the Endangered Species Act. The Southeast Alaska Guides Association Executive Director Forrest Brandon said, this is sort of a mean-spirited approach that one particular organization is taking. I think that working together is a lot better, a lot more practical rather than go to the feds. I think that, if they shut down the king salmon fishing for the sport fleet, he said, the guided sport fleet here in Southeast, that would probably not be survivable for them. Damn. I mean, you think about what that's all about. That's a problem. That's a real problem. All right, we continue now going back to the phones. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Randy in Fairbanks.
Good morning, Randy. What's on your mind?
Oh, I just thought I'd point out an issue here in Fairbanks that went on. Last Thursday, they had a borough assembly meeting, and I attended that meeting, by the way. And the big deal was to approve the Climate Action and Adaptation Plan, and that was reported on by the Fairbanks newspaper in the Saturday edition, June 10. They had a headline on that. And what the deal was is that about a couple of years ago, when the left-leaning people on the borough assembly, the 9-member borough assembly, had control, a slim majority, they introduced a climate action and adaptation plan and created a group that came up with this and worked out with some outside company about to help them come up with this. And then about a year ago, the conservatives obtained a slim majority, a 5-4 majority, but they continued on with this committee, but they changed out the members of the committee and kind of watered down the plan that the original committee came up with. Well, a lot of the left-leaning folks here in Fairbanks were angry about that, and I became aware of this impending borough meeting because of letters to the editor about how we should go back to the original plan instead of the watered-down plan.
Right.
Anyway, I attended the meeting, and it was pretty interesting. I didn't like the watered-down plan too much. I don't think we needed any plan, but I mean, there's some good things in it, I suppose. But when I read it in the meeting there, but about 45 people testified. So the testimony went on for hours, and the meeting went off past midnight. But my thoughts on the plan was that what I didn't like about it is that it gave the impression, the plan, even the watered down one, that you could change the climate here in this interior area, because they lamented on some of the dangers of the climate going bad, the melting permafrost and such. But they gave the impression that we in Fairbanks, by any mitigation effort, could do a single thing about it, which I personally didn't think we could. And I testified to that thought, that we can't do anything about this because the temperature that's here in Fairbanks is due to the sun coming down and the big air masses moving in and ocean currents and changes in ocean currents and just getting rid of the Healy 1 coal plant, which the plan didn't specifically say get rid of that, but one of the things that was in the plan was they talked about sprawl, urban sprawl, people living way the heck out. But I said that,
somehow urban sprawl in Fairbanks is contributing to the global warming. Is that what they're saying?
Well, that's the impression, which is, we're so minuscule. We're just a speck, in the middle of nowhere here, and nothing we can do can change anything one iota. And but I did say that one thing I think that could be added to the plan to really do a little good in reducing the worldwide carbon dioxide concentration, which has gone up a little bit over the past few years, would be to write all the members of Congress and say that we need nuclear power. We need to be like France and have 70% of our power created by by nuclear. And that's, because those plants produce no carbon dioxide whatsoever. But anyway, the final upshot of it was in the headlines of the June 10th Saturday News Miner. The headline says, Assembly votes down climate plan. In fact, they were fiercely disagreeing. The 4-5 group was fiercely disagreeing all the way through the night, but trying to amend it to make it more, quote unquote, robust. That's what everybody wanted. We want this plan to be more robust, which to me means more authoritarian. But basically, the four liberal people, Savannah Fletcher, Mindy O'Neill, Kristen Kelly, and David Guttenberg, it looks like they voted against it because it wasn't robust enough. And then the conservatives, the 5 conservatives, they voted against it because, we don't need it anyway. It doesn't do any good. So
right,
they finally
exactly.
came to an agreement.
Well, it's interesting to see both sides of the aisle come together in agreement on something that is obviously for various reasons, but it's interesting to see them both come against it and do it. You're right. We didn't need it, Randy. I couldn't agree more. By the way, the borough being involved in that kind of stuff makes no sense whatsoever. I mean, I know they're going to say from an air quality standard, that's why they're doing it, for air quality, but the borough, they just, Fairbanks is a small town. It's a small community. It's a small borough. They definitely do not need more government in what they're doing. I mean, I was part of that for 5 years, trying to hold back the dam of government in the Fairbanks North Star Borough. And God, it was a painful process. I mean, it was all we could do to prevent them from taking over the roads and doing everything else. It was a hot mess. And by the time it was all said and done, I felt pretty good about my tenure there. But I got to tell you, there's always people out there who are going to want to see more and more power glommed on the government. And you don't need that in a small community like Fairbanks. I mean, small geographically, it's huge. But, I mean, 90,000 people in a place that's the size of Rhode Island, yeah, don't really need government to have more power in that regard. Thank you for your call, Randy. All right, hour 2 is dead ahead. I'm going to get some coffee or something, collect the 2 wits that I've got together here. We're going to be back with more of the Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Okay, guys. I need a second. I'm sorry. I just need a second. I'll be back here. Give me a minute. Oh. How did you know I was going to blow my nose? And so much more. Oh, man. Excuse me. Good morning, Michael. 3 fingers of brandy will take care of your issues, or at least make it more entertaining. Trust me, we did an AMA. You know, we haven't done an AMA in a long time. We should do an AMA, an Ask Me Anything. I did that on the program here a while ago. Gosh, it's been a couple of years, I guess, since we did it. How many of you folks would participate in an AMA, an Ask Me Anything? I was going to do it just for the Common Sense Corps members, but I decided to open it up and just do it for everyone. And it was just kind of a free-ranging discussion. And then I brought out the scotch because I was doing some scotch tasting, and we talked about that. And whoa. I did a little too much tasting, and it was enjoyable. It was enjoyable. The fun had arrived. Let's put it that way. The fun had arrived. It was a lot of fun just chatting about anything. So maybe I'll do a Saturday AMA here in the next couple weeks. Brian was doing bourbon. He said while I was doing scotch. Donna says she's in. AMA, that's entertainment. We do that every day. Scotch on live radio in the morning. No, I don't drink scotch in the morning. The Matsu Borough is now designated as an MPO. Municipal, what is that? MPO. It's so familiar. Big federal dollars. But as an MPO, they definitely get a lot of federal money coming in. But that is all about pollution and everything else. Seems like a lot of people are in for the Ask Me Anything. Talking to my dad about the King Salmon issue and trawlers, he said greed has once again become disastrous. I said there's no reason greed is categorized as one of the there's a reason that greed is categorized as one of the 7 deadly sins. It's not the subsistence fishermen or even the tourists. It's, someone said earlier, trawlers scraping our ocean for your Mickey D's fillet of fish. Municipal Planning Organization, thank you. Why not scotch in the morning? Because I have to work the rest of the day usually. I'm going to guarantee you that today I'm going back to bed. I'm going to nip this in the bud and be back at 100% tomorrow. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. I kid you not. I mean, I never get sick. I did this show when I had COVID for the 1.2 days that I had COVID. But yeah, today, just the brain fog is getting me more than anything else. Okay. Ask me anything. What is the date today? Let me see here. What do we got here? Today, 17th, 24th. Yeah, maybe we do it maybe this week, maybe next week. Oh no, next week I got something going on. Maybe this Saturday. Maybe this Saturday. Oh, I'm just thinking. Give me a thumbs up in the chat room if you would like to. I can't do a poll from here. I don't know why. Facebook allows me to do polls, but StreamYard just doesn't have that. So give me a thumbs up in the chat room or a yes or something if you would like to see an AMA this weekend. I guess that would be the weekend that I have to do it. In the afternoon. All right. We gotta go. The Michael Duke Show, Common Sense Radio.
Whoa, buddy. Put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out themichaeldukesshow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Dukes Show.
The greed and the entitlement is astounding to me.
What more could you want from a low-budget radio program?
This is a dumpster fire.
That was just BS.
It is time to get a new perspective.
We know just what you need, and we've got just the cure. Open wide and prepare for a steaming hot cup of freedom.
I just don't fathom it.
The Michael Dukes Show, streaming live across the world.
Across the world on the internet at michaeldukeshow.com and across your state of Alaska on this, your favorite radio station and or FM translator. Hey, look at that. Blew my nose during the break and I feel better. Not really, but you know. Hi, welcome to it. It is Monday. Boy, is it a Monday today. Welcome back to the program, but it's going to be great. It's going to be great. It's going to be good stuff. Welcome back to the show. It is the Monday edition of the program, and we've had a bunch of headlines. We've been talking about the potential for a Washington-based conservation group. It's not a conservation group. It's an environmental percent. I take issue with the conservation group label. We talked about that earlier. The difference between preservationists and conservationists is pretty big. And anyway, they're threatening to file an Endangered Species Act petition for Alaska king salmon. And that's going to have some issues, but not like we don't have issues on our own. Not like we, one of the big things that came out of this story was that the king counts in the Yukon River and others across the state of Alaska have been falling for more than a decade. And last year, the Fish and Game Biology, the managers, predicted between 40 and 60,000 kings would return, and the actual size was 13,000, which was less than 10% of the returns meaning that 2 decades ago, 130,000 fish went upstream. This year, they counted 13,000. That's a significantly smaller number than what you really need. But the question is, does it need to be placed on the endangered species list? There's some issues there. There is definitely some issues there, and we can continue to talk about that. Phone lines are open, by the way, 907-433-3150, 907-433-3150. Sponsored by your friends over there at Satellite West. From Ignic to, I can't even think of a thing. I can't, again, brain fog. Ignic to Dillingham, from King Salmon to Chicken, from Eek to Eagle River. Wherever you are in the state of Alaska, Satellite West has got you covered. Phone calls, text messages, emails, the whole schmear. They've got you going on. Stop by and see them at satellitewest.com. Okay. So that was one of the stories that we wanted to dive into. The other one was, there was a Must Read Alaska put this out there, and they were touting this as, hey, the Alaska Republican Party, they have issued a resolution. And to which I said, and, I know this is probably not fair, but to which I said, who cares? The Alaska Republican Party, this is the same group that has been giving money to non-conservatives who's been feeding money to opponents of conservatives who are conservative incumbents in some of these districts who are not taking seriously the issues of their own platform and all. I mean, we have chronicled the problems with the Alaska Republican Party on this program over the last couple of years, especially. Just ad nauseum to no end. We've gone on and on and on and on and on about that. I'm sick of talking about it. How much of a problem that the party and how much of the blame for some of the issues that we have today are, right there at the party's feet. Well, somehow, with all of that, we're supposed to care that the Alaska Republican Party met in Soldotna on Saturday and unanimously passed a resolution in favor of a special prosecutor being appointed to investigate political abuses of the FBI, the Justice Department, and the White House. Okay, so first and foremost, it's a resolution, and good luck to that. We're just gonna, and there's a litany. There's a litany of things and reasons why they put this resolution out there. I'm not saying that that those things shouldn't be investigated. I believe that we're seeing the politicization of many branches of government and weaponization of these places as well. I'm not disagreeing with that at all. This is all based on the Durham report, where the FBI and the DOJ has been doing some crazy stuff. The FISA court warrants, if you have not been following, there's a whole series of Reason magazine articles about what is going on with the FISA court and the FBI. If you are not watching that and are not outraged by it, then you should be checking in. But again, my question is, why should I care what the Alaska Republican Party is doing when they can't even fix what's going on here in the state? I mean, this is insane. This is just insane. Again, it's great that they're pointing all this stuff out, but what good does it do it when they continue to support people like Click Bishop, Kathy Giesel, Bert Stedman? I mean, when they're actively giving money to, Mike Showers' opponent in the last election, they gave him money. Click Bishop was censured by his own district, and yet they still get. I mean, this is. Why do I care? Why should I even care? I mean, they really. It just doesn't even matter anymore at this point. I think we should. I think there should be a message sent to the Alaska Republican Party that until they get their own house clean, we just really don't even care anymore. Last Wednesday, we did a What If Wednesday, which is kind of our way of talking about basic preparedness and other things, trying to make you think about what would happen, what if something happened, and whether it's something as ridiculous as a zombie apocalypse or killer clowns from space or global thermonuclear war or whatever. The most mundane and basic idea was, what happens if there was something that went on at the ports of Long Beach and Seattle? What if there was a rogue wave or an earthquake or, wait, what happens today? Oh, it's a potential strike at the port of Seattle. I mean, this is, if you were thinking about making sure that you had enough food on your shelves and everything else and all that, you may want to buckle up, Buttercup. And in fact, Suzanne Downing writes, it might be time to stock up. The International Longshore and Warehouse Union shut down cargo operations at the port of Seattle on Saturday, according to the Pacific Maritime Association. The PMA said on Twitter that work slowdowns Friday, directed by officials of the union, have brought the ground operations at the port to a halt, resulting in the longshore workers being sent home. Coordinated and disruptive work actions led by the International Longshore and Warehouse Union have shut down cargo operations at the Port of Seattle. The Port of Seattle is the powerhouse. It's the center of the economy for the Pacific Northwest. And for us, Alaska's economy is existentially tied to it. Roughly 80% of the goods coming to Alaska pass through the Port of Seattle and Tacoma. Now, this is a work stoppage. It's not a strike yet, but it could be because longshoremen up and down the West Coast apparently have been working without a contract for almost a year, since last July. This follows similar slowdowns last week at both the Port of Los Angeles, Long Beach, and Oakland. So the entire West Coast is now facing a slowdown, a work stoppage, and a potential strike. Well, if 80% of the cargo comes from the Port of Seattle, the additional 10% or 20% come from Long Beach, Los Angeles, Oakland, this is it, folks. You may want to, if you've got a favorite soda pop, you may want to stock up on it right now. If you've got some canned goods you want to put away, you may want to just throw some on the shelf right now, because if they are shutting down and slowing things down, remember that the average grocery store has about a 3-day supply of food on its shelves and in whatever back stock or overhead stock that they have, about 3 days worth. And normally those stores get a delivery every 2 to 3 days. So 2-3 times a week, they're getting a delivery from their suppliers. So let's see, Saturday was a shutdown. That would be today. You may want to go do some grocery shopping just in case to get things squared away. I mean, it was like I was saying last week, I get really sick of the whole label of, when you start talking about basic preparedness or basic, I don't know, I just call it common sense. I don't even call it preparedness. I just call it living. Talk about basic food storage or having a few days worth of meals on the shelf or whatever. People like, oh, this crazy talk and yada, yada, yada. And the next thing you know, the port is shut down. I mean, that's some deep, deep, deep irony right there. Because a couple of people in the chat room were like, why are we talking about all this crazy stuff? Isn't there more important stuff to talk about, like Uganda or something? I mean, I don't know what they wanted to talk about. But no, I think that keeping Alaskans fed and their children from, having to eat Pop-Tarts for dinner, probably a good and viable topic for discussion, don't you? Now, this will go on, and then the union they'll either be a strike or they'll make it up or they'll come back to work. And some people will learn from this and some people won't. Some people, if there starts to be some shortages here over the next couple of days of stuff on the shelf, some people will go, whoa, maybe I should throw an extra can of tuna fish or something on the shelf when I go by. Others they'll write it out and then they'll be like, oh, that'll never happen again. I would hope that you are the former rather than the latter. Let me just put it that way. I would hope that you are the one that learns from these kind of situations and may throw an extra $100 bill at a few extra canned goods or things that you could eat, some packaged foods, maybe some frozen stuff that you could just, have there and are ready to go. And just in case. I'm just saying. I mean, I don't want to live on canned and packaged food for the rest of my life. I like a lot of fresh food, but it always pays to have a few things set aside. If you buy 1 can of soup, why not buy 2? Hell, why not buy 3? If I need a can of something, usually I buy 3 and throw the other 2 up on the shelf, just because 2 is 1 and 1 is none and 3 is just right. That's kind of my my mantra. I'm still looking for words. Yep, exactly. All right. So Port of Seattle in slowdown mode. I guess we'll have to see what happens this week. Things could get a little lean out there. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. We're going to be back with more in just a moment. Your phone calls are welcome this morning. 907-433-3150. 907-433-3150. Back with more right after this.
Running on 100% pure beard power. Oh, also some coffee. We dip our beard in coffee.
Ha, nice beard.
The Michael Duke Show.
Okay. I think I'm pretty good for up to 60 days or even 90. I'm sure miss my fresh dairy products. Sour cream, cheese. I don't drink milk much. I do use some sour cream occasionally, but cheese. Man. Homer Safeway is naked, says Sandy. Soldotna, not so bad. Hawk says, I'm not even sure why I remain a Republican at this point. Yeah, me either. Dad just informed me that a national NPS, I'm assuming it's National Park Service employee. Is that right? North Pacific, I don't know what NPS, if it's National Park Service. He informed me that an NPS employee who oversaw the salmon count last year told him that they counted 79 million fish and allowed a harvest of 75 million before the salmon came upstream for subsistence fishing. Well, that could be part of the problem right there. Just wondering. I'm speaking Yiddish this morning. You're lucky I'm speaking at all this morning. That's the thing. You are lucky I'm speaking at all. I'm going up here. Thumbs up. Lots of thumbs up here on the AMA. So I think we'll probably plan on that for this weekend. Seattle port strike, says Terry. Yeah, we just talked about that. A lot of us are going hungry, says Robbie. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm going through the comments here. Willie says they have a contract. He's talking about the longshoremen, just not the one that they demand. Well, they're working on an evergreen contract. They haven't had a new contract since last July. So most of those contracts have evergreen clauses in them, meaning that at the end of the contract, they remain at that contract level until a new one's negotiated. But then it's used as leverage in the new one, right? Soldotna seemed well supplied this weekend, said Robbie. Tangle all tangled up. Tangle all tangled up. That's my tongue is tangled today. Seashells by see, I can't even do it. She sells seashells down by the seashore. I got it. Second try. I could see the food bank lines at the churches. Might buy some extra store. I don't freeze cheese, makes it all crumbly. Cheese lasts, if you got a vacuum sealer, cheese lasts forever, right? I mean, if you put it in a fridge, cheese lasts quite a long time. If you don't open it, and then once you open it, you have to eat it. But man, you could put cheese away forever. And cheddar cheese can be frozen, no problem. Other kinds of cheeses don't fare so well, but cheddar can be frozen. I don't know if mozzarella can be frozen. I think mozzarella can be frozen. Doesn't matter. You're melting it anyway, so it doesn't have to be crumbly or not. Cheese. I love me some cheese. All right, let's go over here and get the caller's name and where they're calling from. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
This call is from Helen Matthias Sword.
Okay, Helen, would you hold the line, please? I'm going to be right back to you. We're going to start off with your phone call. So hold the line, Helen. We'll be right back to you here in just a second. We're about 30 seconds from rejoining the radio, so don't go anywhere. Helen in Seward. Oh, yeah, Parmesan can be frozen as well. Yeah, Parmesan, that doesn't matter. Parmesan is, the shredded Parmesan. That's what I need right there. So tasty. Okay. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the possible strike. That's exactly it right there. All right, the Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Let's jump back over to the phones and do it right now. Here we go.
The Michael Duke Show. Not your daddy. Wait, sorry. Not your daddy? Ooh, not your daddy's talk radio. Whew. I was scared for a second. Thought we were going down. Here's Michael Dukes and the show.
Okay. Welcome back to welcome back to the problem. The problem with the program is the problem with the producer. Hey, good morning. Welcome back to the program. Thanks for coming in and joining us. We're going back to the phones right now. We were just talking about the Port of Seattle thing and how it's in a work stoppage and slowdown since Saturday. Sandy in the chat room said, glad you mentioned the possible strike. I was going to wait a few days to order groceries, but I just put one in now. There may be a lot of substitutions if you've placed your online order right now, but at least you'll get it done. Phone lines are open. Helen is down in Seward. She wanted to say something this morning. Let's go over to her right now. Good morning. What's on your mind?
Good thing. I would like to bring everybody's attention up because this is worldwide. It's going to affect everything, and there's no way to fix it. But sunrise all last year just about came up at the same place until October. Then it started moving. It got a little piece, and then in March it turned around and went back to the winter sunrise. And right now it's still there, and we should be as far south as it can get. So watch out for a hot, weird summer and really nasty tornado and Niños and cyclones and twisters and whatever.
You think
the
this
volcanoes will be affected?
Yeah, you think this means a really rough winter based on what, cyclic wobbling or something? I mean, the wobbling of the sun?
I think the rough. I don't think there's no way the world can straighten it out. It's too far going.
Okay. All right, Helen. Well, I mean, I would not be against a mostly hot summer. I mean, I'd like to see, but yeah, I mean, I think we don't need the tornadoes and cyclones and meteor showers or anything else. Thank you, Helen, for your call. Let's continue on over here. We'll go over to the next call, see what you have to say. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
This is Nancy Jones in Kodiak. I just called to say that I'm listening to you on the radio.
Oh, you just called to say you were listening on the radio and that was it? Do I just say thank you?
Yes, you asked if people were listening on the radio.
Oh, well, yeah. No, I mean, I guess clock radio is what I was asking earlier. Do you have a clock radio? I mean, is that how you listen? Do you lay in bed and listen, or do you, what do you listen just on?
I lay in bed and listen, but it's not a clock radio.
Okay, just a radio. Okay, all right, that's fine. I don't even know if apparently they're still available. Well, I appreciate you calling in and telling us you're listening. Any thoughts before I let you go on anything that's happening today? Any of the other discussion or talking points? You're down in Kodiak. What's the?
No, I just enjoy listening to the show.
Okay, well, I appreciate you. I appreciate you being part of it. Thank you for coming in and telling me you listen. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Thank you. That's gratifying. Kodiak, I love Kodiak. Kodiak was a fun place I fished out of Kodiak for a while, right out of high school. Kodiak is a beautiful, beautiful place. Definitely like it. Okay. So I guess I don't have any other things right now on the Port of Seattle shutdown. Let me just real quick, before I move over here. The first refused to blah, 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 blah. Port of Seattle management unrest, a shutdown. Here's the update from, is that from 18 hours ago? Remain shut down. Here we go. I was looking for the update. Here's the update from, good Lord, the internet is crawling this morning. Here is the update from Yahoo News as I wait for is it just a video update? Damn, Sam, give me what I'm supposed to be doing there. It remains shut down. That's the whole thing. They remains closed due to the ILWU labor strife, and you could feel the impact, according to Cairo, KIRO. You could feel the impact here shortly. The shutdown is already threatening supply chains and worrying retailers. The Port of Seattle came to a halt on Saturday, remained that way on Sunday. There are plenty of containers at the Port of Seattle, but nobody is working to move them. The container ships aren't coming in. Sunday afternoon, for the second straight day, those containers are sitting idle. And right now, both sides are at an impasse, and if they don't resolve the issue soon, that package you're waiting for could be delayed at the port until they do. According to Reuters, more than 22,000 dock workers along the West Coast have been working, without a contract. They've been working in an evergreen contract since July of 2022. But now the Chamber of Commerce people are urging the president to intervene, because that's exactly what we need, is the president to get involved in the middle of this thing. Oh man, that's just all we need. That's all we need is the president to get involved. Anyway, so you may want to stock up just a little bit today. If you're out and about doing things, just get stocked up. Okay. What was the, here, this is the story that I wanted to get in on. The Alaska State School Board has now advanced a proposal to ban biological males from girls' high school sports. The transgender girls would be banned from participating in basically, it would basically make it a biological female category only. Now, some people have said that this is part of a larger nationwide movement to restrict transgender rights. I would argue that it's probably more of a recognition of what's been going on subtly underneath the radar for many years, the last few years, I guess I should say, across the country, rather than some kind of big conspiracy to restrict transgender rights. It's just people coming to the realization that my biological female children should not have to compete against somebody who has an unfair baked-in advantage as a biological male would. Current policy allows the Activities Association, the Athletic Activities Association, to decide participation on a case-by-case basis, and publicly, only one transgendered athlete has competed in girls' high school sports here at the championship level in the past 9 years. But this is what Bob Griffin, one of the school board members, says is a proactive thing and anticipates things that could be a problem. The board overwhelmingly voted to advance this. It was unanimous. In fact, unanimously decided to advance this. And what happens now is that it comes out for public discussion. That's really what they said that they really want to do. They wanted to get the they really wanted to get the discussion happening. Some of the people who commented, included members of the Soldotna High School girls wrestling team. Trinity Donovan, one of the team members who testified, said that when she began wrestling, teams they were co-ed. They weren't segregated by gender, and that she lost nearly every match. But after she began wrestling in a girls' division, she went on to win 4 straight state titles before graduation this spring. She said she feels that having transgender girls in the girls' division would be like going back to what she had experienced. She said, if a transgendered woman wants to compete in sports, I think they should have their own category. Change the men's category to an open division or gain support in the Pride Games. Again, there is just a baked-in biological, unfair advantage. You just don't see. It'd be like having the NFL or the NBA, forced to be co-ed for all those kind of things. Your members would just be crushed. And it doesn't go in the other direction, right? Nobody is complaining about trans men competing in men's sports because, again, the biological males have a definite advantage in those situations. But this is just kind of unfair. Now, the opponents of this all play this and all play this up as if somehow this is that some of these kids are going to be teased or challenged, or that they somehow will be unfairly singled out because they won't be able to. Again, if you've made that kind of choice, there are things that come along with that. But just because you feel like you belong in a certain subset, but you biologically have a bigger advantage over that, this is, to me, is a no-brainer. No, you should not allow biological males at birth, I guess, however you want it, whatever the phraseology is for people who were born men or males. You should not allow them to compete in sports with biological females, especially some of these sports where they're based on strength and endurance and everything else, because they have a physiological advantage. Generally speaking, physiologically, men are always stronger and have more endurance and that's just how the biology works. Some testifiers who were opposed to the proposal said they're concerned about the possibility that the regulation would be a first step towards broadly restricting transgendered rights in Alaska overall. How that would happen, nobody's really saying. Nobody's really saying how that exactly would happen. But they are all about it. This is a thing right here. I basically would say the same thing that I say almost every time when we talk about these kind of issues. Here's reason number 1217 why I would homeschool my kids. But your kids aren't involved in any sports. Well, that's okay. My son runs 5 miles a day, goes out, lifts weights. When he's bored or doesn't have anything to do, he starts doing push-ups. And it's just one of those things. Your kids will find something to do. Something that engages them. But this, again, I refuse to participate in this madness of what's going on in that regard. You do you, boo. You do exactly what you want to do. But I'm not going to involve my kids in that mess. Just way, way too much stuff going on. All right, we're coming up on the break. I guess this is the final break. As dopey as I am, that's the fastest 2 hours I've had in quite a while. So we're going to be back in just a moment. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. We'll return. Phone lines are open. What do you think? If you got kids in schools and they're competing in sports, what are your thoughts on this? Pro, con, yay, nay? Is it just they've got to learn to accept disappointment if they get beat by somebody who's not the same gender? I mean, what do you think? 907-433-3150, The Michael Duke Show, Common Sense Radio.
We're broadcasting live through a series of tubes.
Allowing all of these entities to provide streaming stuff going on the internet.
Well, it's kind of hard to explain. Sorry. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Okay. Let's go over to the phones and figure out who the caller is so that we can get them set up for when we return to radio. How about that? Let's go over here. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from? Hello?
Hey, Michael. This is Melissa in Fairbanks.
Hey, Melissa in Fairbanks. Would you hold the line and I'll be right back to you? You'll be number one in the queue. Don't go anywhere. I mean, it was rude of me to ask if you'd hold and then just put you on hold. I mean, I'm sorry. That's just what it is. But hold on for a second. I'm going backwards up here to see what you guys are saying. She's talking about a pole shift, says Robbie. If there's a pole shift, there's not a damn thing you can do about it, and good luck. I mean, good luck. I got powdered cheese to sprinkle on popcorn, but it could be used in other ways. Oh, talking about powdered cheese. Powdered cheese dust is good stuff for certain things, but I mean, yeah, you could put several big containers of Parmesan. You could freeze other things. Pole shift is real. That's why runway numbers change over the years, said Chris. No, polar shift is a real deal. But what they're talking about is the pole, the possibility of the pole flipping, like reaching a tipping point, and basically the whole thing rolls over. That would be a bad deal. Seems to be an extra special short bus Monday, says Bill. Been some interesting calls, that's for sure. If you want bulk food, go to Peterkin Distributors. Are they local? That's who delivers most every grocery store's food around here. Have an open division, says Barb. That's her answer. Yeah. Male division, female division, open division, co-ed division, whatever it is. Donna says, just call them men. When I said, are they biological males or born males or what? Just men. My son wrestled when he was 10 to 12 years old, says Terry. If he matched with a girl, he would forfeit the match. Yeah, because again, it's fundamentally unfair. There are plenty of school associations that are not attached to the school. My son is in football, and it has no association with the school other than using their fields. Whew. Okay. No trans in girls' sports. The girls deserve respect. Intramural sports are all the rage. You can farm better players and compete at higher levels. On the Kenai. Just say, Bill, I don't know why you got banned off Facebook, Bill. I have no idea why you got banned off Facebook. No idea at all. Oh, Bill, you gotta love it. You got to love it. Oh. All right. Damn. My brain today. You know that whole picture of this is your brain on drugs with the egg cooking? Yeah, that's where I'm at right now. Yeah, that's Bill Brock t-shirt worthy. Definitely. Just say no with a Nike swooping underneath of it to Chicks with Richards. That would be Oh man. Oh, that's hysterical. That is funny. All right, Melissa is in Fairbanks. She's on the phone. Somebody else tried to call right at the break, and then they hung up when they figured out I was going to break. So I'm sure that they will be calling in as well. And we're going to be kicking things off here for one final segment of the show, and then I'm going to nappy time. I'm going to go lay down. I guess I'll check my email before I go lay down. Make sure I got. Who am I kidding? I'll probably be here for 2 hours doing work, but that's where I'm going. So, all right. That's it. The ladies are all talking about they're getting t-shirts made right now. They're all in the chat room right now they're all getting t-shirts right now in the thing. Bill, you better get in on this and make sure that they pay you a royalty for you saying that. You better tell them they owe you a quarter for each time they sell a t-shirt or something like that. All right, here we go. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio. Okay, one final segment of the show today. Phone lines are open. You are missing a hysterical conversation in the chat room today. If you haven't joined us in the chat room, you could do so. Easiest place is over on Facebook, probably. Facebook.com/Michael Duke Show /live. You could also find it over on YouTube as well. Let's go over to the phones. Melissa is up in Fairbanks, and she wanted to sound off this morning. 907-433-3150. Good morning, Melissa. What's on your mind?
Good morning. Yeah, you said the all too often said statement about homeschool kids that they don't have any socialization and no experience in sports and all of those lies. So we have 9 kids. 8 of them have been or are involved in martial arts. 6 of them are black belts. 2 of them are second-degree black belts. All of them, except our 3-year-old, have or do play the piano. A couple of them have played the drum for the Red Hackles Bagpipe Band. They all, like the oldest 5, the youngest of those is 16, are either in a career or starting a career. And so saying that homeschool kids don't have any exposure of any sort is really a misnomer. And I'm not trashing you. I'm just reflecting on or reinforcing what you said, that other people do come out and say, oh, you've got them all locked in the basement. They're never going to be around people. And they're socially
they're so socially
kidding
awkward, right? I mean, they're so socially awkward. They couldn't hold a conversation with a lamp. And then you put my kids in the room or your kids in the room with somebody and they're talking about quantum level physics or something. And they're like, what? I mean, what are you talking? I mean, yeah, it's insane to think that just because you homeschool kids that you throw them under a rock and press the rock down for 15 years. That's not what happens.
My 18-year-old is a mechanic. My 16-year-old just started a job at an animal hospital here in town. She wants to be a veterinarian, so this gives her perfect exposure, and she can take classes that go along with that and graduate high school with experience in the career field of her choice. My oldest 3 are all on firm footing in careers. and they're 20, 22, and 24. My 22-year-old bought a house in January. I mean, really? Locked in the basement, no exposure, no socialization skills. Come on.
No, I mean, all of these, and
These kids are awesome. They just are awesome.
exactly all of these programs offer, access to, and they'll plug you into extracurricular activities like martial arts or football or hockey or all these other things. And there are plenty of other organizations out there that will take kids that have nothing to do with schools. Jerica in the chat room said that her son is playing football. It's not affiliated with any school or anything else. They use the school fields, but they're all doing it not from a school aspect. I mean, it doesn't have to be that way. Why does everybody look at this and go, this cookie cutter way is the only way? Because that's what society has taught them, right? I mean, that's what society wants, everybody to conform. I refuse to conform. I refuse to conform to that kind of stuff. And I'm glad we did. Are there things that I would have done different in raising my children? Sure, absolutely. But I'm happy with where they turned out. That's some good stuff right there. I'm not too worried about it. And you're pointing out exactly the success story that people need. When you got kids who are 16 years old going in and working in a field that they've already decided that is going to be their lifetime field, and they're getting that experience, your daughter is going to be way far ahead than anybody else when that comes down to it.
And you know what? She might decide that that's not the career for her.
Right.
But she hasn't put money into college classes. She's not 23 years old. So she can try this out. And if she decides, yeah, I don't really like doing that, then she's not any farther behind than any other kid. In fact, she's ahead because she's got exposure.
Well, and here's an interesting point. In some cases, and in some professions, and I don't know about veterinarians, but in some professions, she may not have to go to a full college. She may be able to go to a specialized course that gives her all the technical skills and the information necessary to become a vet tech or maybe even a veterinarian. I know in some cases, like in some of the computer programming stuff, you can do it through the traditional college route, but also if you have a proclivity for it and you are good at it and you enjoy it, you can jump to just do rocket courses or whatever that just give you the certification you need. And then you can jump straight to it and don't even have to go through the whole 4-year rigmarole in college. That's an even better deal.
Exactly. So I went to college for 3.5 years, and I have 4 college degrees. And I told all my kids, you know what, it's unless you're going to do something like be a doctor or something that really actually requires a degree, don't do it. So my oldest is a computer tech 3, and he earned his certifications through the company he worked for and working on his own online to earn those certifications. My second son is a journeyman with the carpenters, and he got training on the job, had to put in his years of apprenticeship, but he's a journeyman and he's 22 years old.
Jeez.
And my 20-year-old is a crew boss for a local company and getting lots of exposure and experience. And I have no doubt he'll be doing something just as incredible as everybody else because he already is.
Right. Well,
and none of them have gone to college. They've given it a try, but none of them have said, this is the thing for me. They'd rather have on-the-job training while they're getting paid.
Right. Well, I got to say, a mom who goes to college for 3.5 years and comes out with 4 degrees, I think somebody's motivated. Obviously, you got overachievers in your family. So anyway, Melissa, I really appreciate it. Thanks for sounding off this morning. I appreciate you being part of it.
All right.
907-433-3150, 907-433-3150. I had another line and it just dropped off. Okay. Phone lines are open if you guys want to sound off on any of this. I'd love to see it. But I mean, she's right. You don't have to send your kids to the brick and mortar school because that's the only way they're going to be able to that's the only way they're going to be able to get, the socialization or the exposure or the, athletics or anything else. There are plenty of opportunities out there. for kids to be able to do all the things that they need to do. You don't just, and that's what kills me more than anything else, is the fact that many people, their reaction is, well, if you don't give them to school, they won't get any of those things. These folks are not thinking outside the box, right? They're not taking that opportunity to go, maybe I could do something different, because that's not what they've been taught. They've been taught that the only answer is the brick and mortar government school. That's the answer to everything. I just want people to think a little bit outside that box. Let's go back over to the phones. One final phone call here this morning. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
This is Rattles up in Pleasant Valley.
Hey, Rattles, what's on your mind?
Well, all my children all been homeschooled. I had 4 of them. And my oldest son, he can build you a computer. He's really good at doing veterinarian work, right? And he also takes apart huge equipment, your biggest excavators and dozers and stuff, and reassembles them out at mining claims, right? And my oldest daughter, quite a long time already, she already owned a 4-plex in Fairbanks. When, and my younger son, he has his own big business going. He's a timberman, and he has all kinds of equipment. I mean, my children far surpassed any of the children that went to the Two Rivers School out here. I want to tell you, or North Pole, they far surpass any of them.
Yeah. Well, again, giving them those opportunities and encouraging them to do and explore for themselves, that's the way to be, Rattles. And it sounds like
absolutely.
Yeah.
My youngest son there, he's a mechanic and a half. I want to tell you, he can build you anything if it's automotive.
Yeah.
See?
Well, that's good stuff. Rattles, thank you so much for calling in this morning. I appreciate it. There are opportunities, folks. You just need to think. You just need to think outside the box. That's what it's all about, which is something that many people just don't seem to be able to do today. Critical thinking, accurate thought. It's good stuff. All right. Well, I'm going to go lay down. Just trying to get, dang. What a day. Tomorrow, Tuesday, Brad Keithley, Chris Story. They'll be joining us to do the weekly top 3. And we'll see where we go from here. And the PMA with Chris Story. Good stuff. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Don't forget, you can always drop me an email, me@michaeldukeshow.com. And don't forget, if you want to participate every morning in the chat rooms, you can go to Facebook or YouTube or Twitch, any of those things. I'd love to see you out there as well. Folks, be kind, love one another, live well. We'll see you tomorrow. All right, folks, I got to go. It's a day. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Gonna go drink some vitamin C and whiskey. Just vitamin C. Have a good one. The Michael Duke Show.
We've shed our terrestrial radio skin, and now we are slimy lizard internet people. It's the Michael Duke Show.